Greetings, listeners. We're back for this new edition of the file that Michael has prepared for us on conspiracy, which is actually a very long story all the way back to our 1611 King James Bible. Michael, welcome.
Brett, welcome. And dear audience, welcome. So that you have to bear with me the next 90 minutes or so. And together with my beloved friend Brett, whom I've never met.
Yes, we still haven't met. No, that's true.
So
although, if you don't mind, Michael, I can tell everyone that Michael did offer to meet me once, but I just didn't take the effort to do it, did I, Michael?
Yeah, that was years ago, but you
yeah,
see that maybe we should check in at Elon Musk and ask for a ticket to the Mars. Then we meet up together.
Or who's the other fella that does that kind of thing? The owner of Virgin Records? What was his name? I forget now.
Yeah, I know whom you're talking about.
Yeah, he does that outfit there in New Mexico. And
Richard Branson, I think.
Yeah, right? Richard Branson. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I don't think we're going to be spending.
They would never lie to you.
Yeah, we're not going to spend that kind of money anytime soon.
Oh, would they?
Never. No.
Would they cheat on you? No. Huh?
Well, if you pay them enough money, you'd be fine, right?
So what is the condition to be successful in this satanic world? It's not truth.
Well, it's contrary to the truth, because we know the love of money is the root of all evil, Michael. So a lot of people are in it for the money, obviously, because of the way things are headed in this world and in the current conditions that we have these mandates right now, and people want to keep their jobs, so they do what they are told.
You know what a very good example and proof is that you're living in a satanic world? Lawyers.
Yes. Attorneys.
Yeah. Because they just can't bear with 10 commandments. No, thousands of laws. And so many people who are not following the law, but have their own explanation of it. And so many thefts, robbery, murder, violence. What else? Yeah, this is really a proof of that you're living in a satanic world. So that in comparison, would you live in a Christian world, there would be no theft.
Yeah, that's true.
There would be no murder. There would be no crime. Nothing that a worldly court could settle. It's just you had the elders, but apart from that, God's laws are very simple.
Well, isn't that what all of us long for, Michael? Is we really want to be in God's truth and His kingdom, which is not of this world, the Bible tells us. So, yeah, we're faced with a dilemma, aren't we? All of us.
To be successful in a satanic world, you have to be satanic.
Well, there's successful, but there's also just getting by, Michael. Just making ends meet,
In the last session, we spoke about the kings of the world, and I left the question a little bit open. Who are the kings of the world? Well, it depends on your point of view. In my point of view, the kings of the world are the rulers of the world who are more supreme than others. So the supreme head of state, for example, in the United States of America would be the president. I'm not talking about the people, the advisors, or the people behind or beside the president. I'm speaking about what actually the illusion is, that the President of the United States would be the most powerful man in the United States.
But I wrestle with you on that, because isn't it diplomacy that the rulers are implementing? So if you are successful at implementing diplomacy with the monarchy, So isn't it the monarchy that are the kings, Michael?
Yeah, you see, the king is just an average word from the Bible, depicting a special position in the hierarchy. So the king is serving the whore of Babylon.
Yes.
Yeah, so that is Revelation. That's my point.
That's
so
how it's working. Yes.
Yeah. So at the time when the New Testament, and especially the book of Revelation, was written, there was no democratic party or republic or so that you could rely on. Yes, it was the Senatus Populusque Romanum, yeah, SPQR, but that's another thing. But it was
the ancient Roman Republic, yeah.
The ancient Roman Republic, yeah. That's but it was not no democracy or no special votes and all the things. In my humble opinion, were there that you nowadays have with all your vote schematic in the United States and all the different countries. So that it is in the old times, in the Middle Ages, there were only the kings who were the rulers, who set the laws, and there were just the king, and on the other hand, there were the so-called slaves, the laymen. So the not the layman, but the average, not civilian, but because civilian is also a special term for Roman Republic. But it was just the people who were depending, who were just working. So there were just some people who had privileges, the higher class nobility, the so-called freemen. For example, Werner von Braun, he was Freiherr von Braun, so he was a free man. Yeah, so he had a special status of lesser nobility. And so that what I am going into is that these kings of the world actually are the rulers who are in line with the doctrine of the apostate church, meaning the whore of Babylon, who's sitting at many waters with their doctrine. Yeah, and so that conspiracy means that two are gathered together in the same spirit. Yeah, so they are in the same spirit, plotting any evil thing. You see here, deception, theory, scheme, trick, paranoia, plot, treason, etc. So these people are having a plan to benefit from an evil action. They are in line in the same spirit. So without any further ado, because I was too busy to rewrite a script from German and English, I thought, okay, well, maybe a summation of a German session would be more fitting, because before we go into our very example here, we have to commit a few minutes to the fact that the press isn't there to cover anything. The press is there to uncover any... sorry, I have to start again. In my humble opinion, the press isn't there to uncover some things, but the press is there to cover some things. Think of the actual situation now, 2022. And when we get back in the American history, there was a certain journalist who spoke about that the American press is not free. And so that when we get along to that, and maybe you remember from the Science as the New Religion series, the timeline, there are certain special secret treaties of Vienna, Verona, and Vichy. And therefore, they said that they had to destroy the King James Bible, and therefore that was also the cause for the so-called Monroe Doctrine of the United States a little bit later. So that the United States didn't want any European or foreign countries to have any influence whatsoever on the American politics. So this is a thing that I came up with in German about the manipulation of mass media. Mm-hmm. So, and I said in the German session, I came up with the question of the conspiracies, cui bono. Cui bono means who profits. Yeah, so who profits from the outcome of an evil plot? If you would like to solve any crime, if you're a detective, officer, what else? The first question that you got is, okay, who profits? Cui bono? A Latin phrase about identifying crime suspects. It expresses the view that crimes are often committed to benefit their perpetrators, especially financially. Which party benefits may not be obvious, and there may be a scapegoat. And that, yeah, then you know already maybe what I'm going into. That's coming from Cicero, actually. So it's a very, very long time ago. It's coming from Cicero, and this cui bono is the question in every criminal case that you want to think about who did it and who profits from it. So cui bono is the key question in a conspiracy. Yeah, so if you want to know who's involved in that, you have to think about the people who will benefit from it. And that's the absolute very thing that we have in 2 Kings 15:10. Once again, who profits? Cui bono.
Yeah, 2 Kings 15:10 reads, "And Shalom, the son of Jabesh, conspired against him and smote him before the people and slew him and reigned in his stead."
Yeah. So who profits? In that case, Shalom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Shalom reigned in his stead. Yeah. So Shalom, the son of Jabesh, conspired against him. At the moment, I don't know who's him, but that does not make any difference. Yeah. So here it is about power. It is not about money in the first place. It is about power to reign. So this is the benefit. Cui bono means who benefits the most from that conspiracy, whatever it might be. It's up to your imagination, but actually this is in the Bible. It speaks out that people will be killed to have power, to gain power due to the killing. Okay, so then I thought about in the German session, not only about cui bono, because that's what the detective would come up with. It was about 80 before Christ, in a defense speech for Sextus Rocius Amerinus. From the origin is the statesman and philosopher Marcus Tullius Cicero. So 80 before Christ, already he was using cui bono. So that's who profits. And we have to get to know the fact, actually, that nowadays the press is much, much, much controlled. For example, New York Post, has been published by Rupert Murdoch. Yeah, so Rupert Murdoch is not anybody. Rupert Murdoch was together with a very famous, world famous photo model a few years ago. But Rupert Murdoch is not only somebody. Rupert Murdoch is somebody who is knighted. Yeah. So once again, this is not the ordinary John Doe's. Yeah. You see, he's a knight commander of the Order of St. Gregory the Great, KSG, a papal honor awarded by Pope John Paul II. So that means that all the people you will really come across, people are really in power, and this is one of the few people who are really into the press, Rupert Murdoch. Yeah, you see that these people are having a very good combination or a very good relation actually to the Roman Catholic Church, because they were granted the status of a knight. Yeah, Rupert Murdoch left, and Cardinal Edward Egan at the Alfred E. Smith fundraising dinner in New York. Once again, you see the color scheme, black and red. Satanism, really interesting. So I like to give the floor once again to Mr. John Swinton, a journalist from the 19th century, who in his speech of 1883, before he left the newspaper The Sun, he delivered a press speech he is most famous for today. And this is a speech which is, of course, highly debated and fought over the actual existence and verification of that speech, but really you have to take it with a grain of salt. And it is key to the understanding that we won't get the truth from the media. Instead, people who are looking for the truth, are being discredited as so-called conspiracy theorists. But conspiracy theories, we have learned that it's been used as a negative content, but this word itself has absolutely no negative meaning. It just means that you have the theory that there could be a conspiracy. What we have talked about, I think it was 2 sessions ago, that every detective, every lawyer, every who's into any investigation whatsoever, has to assume that there is a plotting of evil from at least 2 individuals, which would then be a conspiracy by definition. Therefore, these people are being accused of being conspiracy theorists. You can now accuse every attorney, you can accuse every police officer, you can accuse every detective, oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist. Yeah, but it's just absolutely baloney, because it's just a word which is there to discredit people. So governments and agencies don't want you to go into the truth, and so you will be labeled bang as conspiracy theorists, or bang as extremists, or bang as loony nut, or bang as what else. Yeah, so this is an argumentum ad hominem. This is an argument against the character. It has nothing to do with truth. Yeah, so if people won't start arguing with you for the truth, yeah, they want to avoid it at any cost. They go into argumentum ad hominem. They will attack the character instead of the item, of the fact. We are living in a post-fact time. So that means that the facts are not important anymore. It is just doctrine which is important. It is belief. It is a religion which is important. It has nothing to do whatsoever with the fact. And so that every time it has no meaning, and it is a sign that somebody is not into the truth when he is using the method of argumentum ad hominem, the red herring. There are certain methods to discredit somebody, refers to several types of arguments, some but not of all, which are fallacious. Typical of this term refers to a rhetorical strategy where the speaker attacks the character, motive, or some other attribute of the person making an argument rather than attacking the substance of the argument itself. Yeah, so that's the thing. Yeah, Person A makes a claim, person B asserts that A holds a property that is unwelcome, and hence B concludes that argument X is wrong. So that means that you attack the messenger, but you don't argue about the message. So you won't listen to anybody who's discredited as a conspiracy theorist. And that's the problem of today. This combined with the next argument, it's the argumentum ad verecundiam. What's that? It's the argument of authority. So that means that if somebody is telling you, oh, well, that case, what the conspiracy theorist nuts has pointed out is absolutely futile, because I'm a professor of that university. I am the great minister of defense, etc. So they have been granted a state of authority above an ordinary John Doe. But that does not make the argument any truth. There's no substance in it. And these are all the things that, if it comes down to the absolute essence and nitty-gritty of it all, people will avoid getting into a discussion. Instead, they will try to put out to destroy your character, or they are coming up with so-called experts. And experts are you and me. Mm-hmm. There is no official explanation what an expert must have or must achieve, because everybody can be called an expert. If you're into collecting stamps, you're an expert without having a proper examination. Yeah, you can be an expert in your field. You can, of course, be an expert. If somebody has raised 12 children, then she's an expert in raising children without having a degree or so. Yeah. So nowadays we are bombarded with the experts in the field and doctors, etc., but you see that this had nothing to do with truth. So the truth can be very simple, and then it's been in line with the Bible, because Jesus Christ not spoke to the scribes and Pharisees for most of the time, but he spoke to the simple people. And now we are doing sessions for the simple people, yeah, the simple-minded people, yeah, like you and me. Yeah, and these simple people like you and me are discovering that many, many, many high influential people are actually been together with the Roman Catholic Church. And now is the argument of John Swinton very interesting when he is putting out a part of his speech there. Would you like to read it, Brett?
Of course. There is no such thing in America as an independent press unless it is out in the country towns. You are all slaves. You know it, and I know it. There is not one of you who dares to express an honest opinion. If you expressed it, you would know beforehand that it would never appear in print. I am paid $150. Keep in mind this is what,
1883, yeah.
1883. That's a lot of money back in 1883. Nothing like today. I am paid $150 for keeping honest opinions out of the paper I am connected with. Others of you are paid similar salaries for doing similar things. If I should allow honest opinions to be printed in one issue of my paper, I would be like Othello before 24 hours. My occupation would be gone. The man who would be so foolish as to write honest opinions would be out on the street hunting for another job. The business of a New York journalist is to distort the truth, to outright lie, or lie outright, to pervert, to vilify, to fawn at the feet of Mammon, and to sell his country and his race for his daily bread, or for what is about the same, his salary. You know this, and I know it. And what foolery is to be toasting an, quote, independent press, unquote. We are the tools and vassals of rich men behind the scenes. We are jumping jacks. They pull the strings and we dance. Our time, our talents, our lives, our possibilities are all the property of other men. We are intellectual prostitutes.
Yeah, interesting that he's mentioning the mammon. Yeah? And in the Bible it speaks that you can't serve two masters, God and the mammon. That's
correct.
Not possible. And so that mammon is everything which has to do with money and fame and fortune and.
Oh, that's a really interesting piece of scripture. I'll bring it up, Michael, as you continue. Got to search it to find it.
Yeah, Luke 16:30.
Yes. Can you pull up, let's see, Luke's, I can pull it up here too. There's several verses before this that really make it much more potent. If you
I can show here the entire Luke 16 chapter.
Yeah, verse, let's see. Which verse was it again?
Oh, and there's several verses.
That's right.
Luke 16, and then it is 13, for example.
Yes.
We can look it up. And 9. 9. It starts at 9.
Yes, okay. And I say unto you, make yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness. Excuse me, let me read that again. And I say unto you, make to yourselves friends of the mammon of unrighteousness, that when ye fail, they may receive you into everlasting habitations. He that is faithful in that which is least is faithful also in much, and he that is unjust is the least is unjust also in much. If therefore ye have not been faithful in the unrighteous mammon, how will commit to your trust the true riches? And if ye have not been faithful in what in that which another man's is another man's, who shall give you that which is your own? No servant can serve two masters, for he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve God and mammon.
Mhm. Yeah, you cannot serve God and mammon. So when Swinton is talking about the mammon here, to fawn at the feet of mammon and to sell his country and his race for his daily bread. And he's speaking out that he is serving the Antichrist.
Well, here's the one I was thinking of, actually, Michael. It's Matthew chapter 6, verse 22 through 24, if you don't mind. This is a really good one, too,
Yeah,
that I
can show it now. I'm showing it now.
Great, yes. Matthew chapter 6, verse 22 through 24. The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. But if thine eye be evil, thy whole body shall be full of darkness. If therefore the light that is in thee be darkness, how great is that darkness? No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve God and mammon.
Yeah, it's a little bit more fluid, that Matthew chapter, huh?
Yeah, I really like this one, and
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking when you mentioned that. So I was a little bit distraught with the other reading because I'm not familiar with it. But nonetheless, they're both good.
If, for example, Mr. Murdoch is a knight of Malta, for example, or knight of St. Gregory and all the things, you see that these people are connected into being knights for the Roman Catholic Church.
Isn't that interesting? And there's such a shroud over that in America, with the papal knight orders, such as all of the papal knight orders. It's just, I've never even heard of it till I started studying the Jesuits, actually.
Yeah, the Knight of Malta actually also funded the CIA.
Yes.
Yeah, and these are also members of the Council of Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission. Quoted from Behold a Pale Horse by William Cooper. And this is the actual copy of that book. The Knights of Malta is a world organization with its threads weaving through business, banking, politics, the CIA, other intelligence organizations. P2 means propaganda, DUI. You think of the Italian lodge of the Freemasonry. Religion, education, law, military, think tanks, foundation, the United States Information Agency, the United Nations, and numerous other organizations. Why United Nations? Yeah, because as well as the Vatican, the sovereign military order of Malta is a member of the United Nations.
They are not only a member, they are a permanent overseer.
Yes, correct.
Just as the I think the papacy is as
the
well,
Vatican. Yeah, the word, the special phrase escaped me. Sorry, thanks for stepping in, Brett. Yeah, it's an overseer. Yeah, I like a bishop, overseer. Yeah. So the Knights of Malta, the world head of the Knights of Malta is elected for a life term with the approval of the Pope. So they are subdued to the Pope. So the Pope is their supreme. Yeah, because you see that if the head of Malta needs the approval of the Pope, yeah, who's on top and who's below? So the Pope is ruling the Knights of Malta, of course. The Knights of Malta, because it's the Knights of Malta, huh? It is not the princes of Malta or the kings of Malta, they're just the Knights of Malta. So it is not supreme, but these people are with equipped with the sword, yeah, so to share blood. The Knights of Malta have their own constitution and are sworn to work towards the establishment of a new world order with the Pope as its head. Knights of Malta members are also powerful members on the CFR and the Trilateral Commission, page 86 on Behold a Pale Horse, William Bill Cooper. And not only that, you see that the Knights of Malta actually is a bit of a special item, because they are not located on Malta anymore, but in the Vatican. Ah, how convenient, huh?
Yeah, that's true. That's right.
How convenient is it?
Well, and they're over 900 years old now. They had their 900th anniversary not that long ago.
Yeah, therefore, Jörg came up with the idea to present Nothing But the Truth, a video which he did in English, together with Michael Adams in these days. These were 2017 somewhere, so before I met Jörg. And he was taking an interesting approach on the sovereign military order of Malta. Yeah. So
actually, I think it was around 2014 or 2015 when they made those videos.
Maybe it is, but they have been published in 2017 at the beginning. So that, of course, they have to be much more earlier than that. So there are many things on his account, so on his channel. So if you want to know anything about it, then please visit Joggler66, our brother from Belgium, for Nothing But the Truth. Okay. So that's with that small exception here. Let's go right in the things which I would like to. No, I have to mention something before. Don't trust any media. Don't trust any media.
Michael, that's not such an easy thing to do, is to neglect all media, because the media is just, we're smothered with it. It is everywhere you go. You have, of course, the mass media, then you have social media, then you have all of the other little tidbits out there, and media everywhere. How do you avoid it?
Yeah, but media, we know, comes from Medo-Persia. These were the priestly tribes. Yeah. So why did we do Science is the New Religion? Because you see that this is a side project, more or less. This is about the media control, that people are being put down to sleep with the help of the television, the satanic media altar or satanic family altar. We did 2 sessions on that also. And so they can get away with everything. If your foreign minister, Colin Powell here, which I think has died a few months or few years ago, is putting out here, says this is a very dangerous thing. This could kill many people. You see, this is just a small bottle of something. You cannot judge if it's right or it's wrong.
It's supposed to be, yeah.
Yeah, but you have to believe it, that it is actually containing something. Maybe it's just containing water. Who knows? And that's the same situation, or a similar situation anyway, with the current situation. You don't know what's containing. You don't know. You have to trust your media. You have to trust your government. And you see that, where did we go when we trusted the American media when it came down to Saddam Hussein being the villain of the entire world, who would be able to destroy countries in 45 minutes with his weapons of mass destruction? Nowhere, because it was an absolute lie. And then when I got into the German Wikipedia page, I remembered, or I found out, that the so-called capture of Saddam Hussein in a hole, it was not authentic. Yeah, they have made that picture over and over again. Yeah, so because Saddam Hussein lived in a house, and he resisted his capture, so they just made it up that he was living just in a hole, which is absolutely a lie. But it sounds it looks very interesting on the media, but it has no substance at all. Yeah. So the U.S. soldier Nadim Abu Rabi, he spoke in March 2005 that the scene was being set up for the media. Yeah, it's just one example. Yeah. It gets really worse, because the German magazine, The Spiegel, which means the Mirror, says they are doppelgangers of Saddam Hussein. Yeah? Through operations, there are several, at least 3 is a doppelganger in American English also, I think?
No, I don't know. I've never heard of doppelganger.
Body double.
Body double. Yes, body double for sure.
Body double, yeah, so lookalikes. Yeah,
yep,
lookalikes.
Yep.
Yeah. So people. And when he has public appearances, he's been putting out some of his lookalikes.
Hmm.
Yeah. So this was an official message on the German television second television channel on 2002. Official. Yeah, not conspiracy theory, but official German television. They said that at least he's got 3 lookalikes who are replacing them when it's maybe too dangerous or so. So if that is, yeah, how can you judge if something is right or wrong? Or if Saddam Hussein has been found or captured or been beaten up or what else? If he's got 3 lookalikes at least. So you see what it all comes down from. You cannot believe anything. You cannot believe anything. Please don't believe anything. Don't believe anything. Also, Mr. Roosevelt supposedly said that there are no coincidences in politics. But it's hard because that quote is not 100% correct. I have found out that it is not 100% correct. It is a little bit oversimplified. But the second German television series says that the research of his foreign journal has been resulted that these lookalikes, they were very similar and they were being made very similar by operations, and also were quoting his Dr. Moslem al-Assadi, who was then responsible for his throat and nose and ears and all this upper body stuff. And he says that there are several marks which I could recognize between the original and the forgery, actually. Yeah, so that if that is a reliable source here from the official German television set, then how many lookalikes does Donald Trump has, Joe Biden, or who else? Huh? It's very interesting because you see that usually that information you won't get anywhere. Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I have to. No. I just want to. No, I don't want to do it from scratch, so that we skip it on that. So then we can go into this. So the Bible tells you the truth, but the media tells you a vision. A television, a vision from far away, which has most likely nothing to do with the actual truth. So what you see is not what you get. What you see is what you should get. What you should understand is that you've been manipulated very heavily. So you are manipulated very heavily. And I found one example I would like to go in very extensively, because I think that many things have spoken about it and many people have come across writing books, essays, documentaries, videos, DVDs, all the things. Who did it? Cui bono? Who profits from maybe the most famous or infamous conspiracy of the 20th century? I'm not speaking, of course, of 9/11, and I'm not supposed to speak about the current situation, but I speak about the 20th century. And what do you think is the most interesting conspiracy in the 20th century? Well, if you would ask me, I'd say it is this family. This is the family of Kennedy, the former United States of America, the 35th president of the United States. And I think that we all know how his presidency ended abruptly on November the 22nd, 1963. And please don't think for just one moment that I would go into any official documents and anything that you would have come across on other channels and unusual books and so. I'm just interested in the case. If the Bible is correct, then one king of the world was John F. Kennedy, at least during the time of 1960 to 1963. I know that I'm rushing through it because in the German series of that item here called Verschwörungen, which means conspiracies, I have done much more research into the item of conspiracy. But as we have several special history problems in Germany, I thought maybe that was a smart way to do, because in Germany we are much more restricted because of our history in the Second World War. So then we can go into the family of Kennedy, because if I can interpret the Bible correctly, then it means that all these kings of the world have committed fornication. And so the question is, if John F. Kennedy was one king as the United States president, did he or did he not? And what's very interesting is, cui bono, who profits? Who has really profited from the death of Mr. Kennedy? And there are several tracks to follow, and I will follow 2 tracks at the same time, the worldly stuff and the spiritual stuff. So that is my ideas about John F. Kennedy and the assassination in Dallas, which took place. And maybe you remember a few sessions ago when I said, okay, the king is dead, long live the new king. Yeah, so John F. Kennedy was dead. Yeah, and he was the dead king. And we will have a very interesting time, I hope, when we go into that matter, also from the viewpoint of the Bible, which actually this series is about. So let's have a look. There is a CIA document 1035-960 concerning criticism of the so-called Warren Report, which is like the 9/11 Commission report or Omission report. It's about dealing with the subject of ruling out any conspiracy in the case of the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And this CIA document has one flaw. The problem is that it is most likely that, according to our research, the CIA has been controlled and founded by the Sovereign Military Order of Malta. And it's a secret society, of course. It's a secret service, which means that do you really think that they are putting out the truth? Their job is to do things in secret. So they won't admit anything they did, and you cannot accept and you cannot expect that they will have a great chat with you and speaking out the truth. So they won't, because their job is to get rid of people who are in the way of the government, for example. So this is a document here, of course, from the CIA, but everybody nowadays can fake a document. So you cannot really judge if somebody is authentic or not. And that's the real kicker in the John F. Kennedy assassination. Because if the CIA is involved with it, then they can fake every document. So you cannot rely on any documents, you cannot rely on any witnesses, you cannot rely on any photographs, and you can't rely on any films. Because in my humble opinion, and I was busy with the Kennedy case for more than 10 years from several sources and several videos and some books, I would say that there is not one authentic photograph, not one authentic movie, because everything had to be accepted first from the FBI or some other organization before it was being published, for the general public, for the general John Doe. So you can't expect to have authentic material. The only thing you can do to think about the truth is to read the Bible and to compare everything against the Bible and to use your common sense or your Holy Spirit, which God has given to you, so that you really start once and for all. Start like in the example of science is the new religion. You have to start to think for yourself. After the assassination of Kennedy, some hours later, it was absolutely clear, at least on the radio, that this lone nut called Lee Harvey Oswald was the one who killed the president. Isn't it like the case in the 9/11 things, when a few hours later, then after the World Trade Center has crumbled, it was absolutely clear that it was just these loony Osama bin Laden and his terrorists who put out that thing into action on that very day. So it is very similar to everything that we have encountered on modern kind of assassinations and conspiracies. But once and for all, you cannot take anything for granted. Even if the document is, if the CIA is releasing anything, and I can tell that even your so-called mightiest man on the world, the powerful man in the world, Donald Trump, had not the power to release the documents which he promised. Yeah? So there are many documents which are blacked out. There are many documents which are unreleased until this very day. And we're speaking about almost 60 years later. Yeah, so government has something to hide. And the Bible tells us that the governments and the kings are working together with the whore. And this is going to be a wild ride. So if that document, if it is, assumingly, if it would be authentic, then it states, conspiracy theories have frequently thrown suspicion on our organization, speaking of the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency. So it is about information. And CIA is also being founded by the Knights of Malta. So by a Roman Catholic knight order. By the way, knights are the people who are supposed to kill. These are the people supposed to have a sword in their right hand. Yeah, these are the people to share blood. These are not the people who are collecting blood. These are the people of the Red Cross. Yeah, so that is the civil organization of the Sovereign Military Order of Malta. But maybe we will come across some interesting pictures in the future sessions. So they say, once again, conspiracy theories have frequently thrown suspicion on our organization. For example, by falsely alleging that Lee Harvey Oswald worked for us. The aim of this dispatch is to provide material countering and discrediting the claims of the conspiracy theorists, so as to inhibit the circulation of such claims in other countries. And once again, we come to that conclusion that we need etymologically online. Etymology online. Yeah, and then you type in conspiracy. A plotting of evil. Okay, that's so much. Let's have a look. I know it was somewhere.
Yeah, it's right there. Conspiracy theory. Yeah,
yeah, I know. It's been mentioned in a negative sense.
Oh.
Yeah, it's used in general reference to theories of hidden cabals pulling wires behind the scenes is by 1871. Yeah.
That's so, pretty close to that time that John Swinton spoke.
Yeah,
up.
And very close to that time that the Jesuits were forbidden in many countries.
Yes, and very close to the time when the First Vatican Council was taking place, 1870.
Yeah. Agreed together to commit a criminal or reprehensible act. Yeah. So much so. Conspiracy on the larger scale often suggests it would be impossible to conceal in the United States, especially since informants could expect to receive large royalties, etc. Note that Robert Kennedy, Attorney General of that time, and John F. Kennedy's brother would be the last man to overlook or conceal any conspiracy. And as one reviewer pointed out, Congressman Gerald R. Ford would hardly have held his tongue for the sake of the Democratic administration. Oh well, wasn't Gerald R. Ford later been crowned as the so-called President of the United States? Yeah. And Senator Russell would have had every political interest in exposing any misdeeds on the part of Chief Justice Warren. A conspirator, moreover, would hardly choose a location for a shooting where so much depended on conditions beyond his control. The route, the speed of the cars, the moving target, the risk that the assassin would be discovered. A group of wealthy conspirators could have arranged much more secure conditions. That's right, but maybe it was supposed to happen so. Oswald would not have been any sensible person choice for a conspirator. He was a loner, mixed up of questionable reliability and an unknown quantity to any professional intelligence service. And let me add, he was just a marksman, so that is the lowest rank of a expert shooter. So he was not that expert shooter, especially not under that condition, but that's just for a later session. So this is just what I wanted to start with the history of Kennedy first before we go into assassination, because to understand what this man was all about, to understand what his background was, to understand the complications between the government, the church, and all his affiliations, you really have to study Mr. Kennedy first. And this is a very interesting one, because he is not just the ordinary American president. First of all, once again, don't be fooled by television. Don't be fooled by any objects. Don't worship images and idols. You see, if you're a little bit experienced in that regard, you see that this is not a normal photograph, Brad.
No, okay.
This is not a normal picture. Yeah. So what's special in that picture is that nobody behaves like on that picture. Everybody's smiling, everybody is focused, almost everybody is focused on John F. Kennedy in the middle. So he is the person in the middle. He is center here. So he's the center of the attention. Yeah, he's the biggest also. Yeah, he's the center of attention here. This is his father. This is his brother. And maybe this is Ted, I don't know. Yeah, so that is just the case here. So these are sitting here, these are leaning here. He's the one who has the biggest posture. So he's the one who is dominating that picture. Everybody is looking, smiling, laughing. Haha, yeah, this is a fake photo. No, the photo is real. But you see, the appeal is that it would be handed over to the public to let people guess that these are such a happy American family, and also very educated. Look at the list of books here. Yeah? So this is a picture which is unnatural. Yeah. This is a picture which is very unnatural. And it just focused on John F. Kennedy, who should become president and who was becoming president. But this is just public relations or propaganda to point out that he's the man. Yeah, he's the sunny boy, he's the man. Yeah, so this is also this is an authentic picture, but it reveals that it was been set up for promotion.
Yeah,
so,
a photo op, right?
Yeah.
And I'm assuming op means opportunity.
Yeah. So if everybody talks about Kennedy, they usually don't talk about his achievements in politics, but everybody refers to the assassination. Yeah, so you see that that's the assassination. Kennedy, for example, is very interesting. Kennedy is an Irish surname and is said to be from Old Irish, Sinite, and means ugly head. And why did I choose A Nightmare on Elm Street here? Because that main character has an ugly head, I'd say. And if you think that I did it on random, no, I don't. Because this is the Elm Street and there a nightmare happened. Yeah, the nightmare for John F. Kennedy, because he was shot on that very road. In 1963. Of course, this is a much more modern picture here. They didn't have that sophisticated cars, which can be controlled, yeah, by GPS in 1963. So, but this is the Elm Street, and therefore this series of horror movies is called A Nightmare on Elm Street, not by accident. Yeah, and Kennedy means ugly head. So, haha, maybe, yeah, this is about to make fun of people who actually don't know what Kennedy is all about. And I think that most people know that Kennedy died on Elm Street, huh? There's also a book from Stephen King, which is dealing about the assassination on the 22nd of November. Yeah, because that is one of the main pillars of conspiracy theorists. Yeah, so Stephen King's had made several interesting books. Of course, also the book called The Stand. yeah, the stand is about a virus. But you don't want me to go into this, huh? I'm not going into this. Yeah. So if I would use the DeepL translator, for example, for ugly head, yeah, it is really in German, it means also really an ugly face. It's not only an ugly head, but an ugly face. So somebody you would not like to approach. But I think that Kennedy had everything but an ugly face. I think that he was a kind of sunny boy, huh? That's what you usually think about John F. Kennedy. He was very young when he was elected president. He was at the age of 43 and he died at the age of 46. So that sets him apart as the, in my humble opinion, as the youngest president of all times in the United States. And also, of course, that sets him apart as a kind of womanizer and a kind of attractive politician in his days, especially when you compare that to the older generation like Eisenhower and so on. So this is the 35th president of the United States, JFK. Yeah, but it's not his full name, because it's John F. Kennedy, and F stands for Fitzgerald. And Fitzgerald is a Hiberno-Norman. Huh? You see that? This is the case why I did that session together with Brett here. Yeah. Yeah. Cambro-Norman, Anglo-Norman surname. It's patronymic as the prefix fix derives from the Latin filius, meaning son of. So, yeah, Fitzgerald. Interesting. Arms of the Fitzgerald dynasty. So coming from Ireland. And we know, and Fitzgerald means son of Gerald. Yeah. So it is John, the son of Gerald Kennedy. Or would you really like to translate it? It is John, the son of Gerald Uglyhead. Yeah. So, but going into this, you see that the Fitzgerald is a name coming also from Ireland and Britain, and we know, or maybe you know, that Kennedy has some Irish ancestors. So they were coming from Ireland to the United States of America. Yeah. So that was, this Fitzgerald was a dynasty from nobility. So these were nobility actually, and there are some mystics here, the annals, so the tales of the four masters and all this stuff. You see these mystics, annals of the four masters. Yeah, sure. It's the counterfeit of the Bible. Yeah. Yeah, these also were being coming down to the Wales line of kings, so from Wales, etc., etc. Yeah. In the etymology, Fitz means son, and also it is a German connection of Ger and Waltan, which means rulership. So this is the Cambro-Normannic origins. Yeah, from Fitzgerald, Maurice Fitzgerald. A report about the invasion of Ireland in the year 1169. Invasion. From whom the invasion? You know that Ireland is a very, very, very prominent Roman Catholic country up to this very day. Yeah, you see, this is the usual amount of information which nobody is looking for, but so be it. There's also a USS Fitzgerald, a name for United States Navy officer Lieutenant William Charles Fitzgerald, but it had nothing to do with Mr. Kennedy so far. So my question is, who formed, who raised, who educated John F. Kennedy? Where does he come from? What's his purpose? And why should he become the President of the United States? Going back to his ancestors is Patrick Joseph Kennedy, the son of Irish immigrants born in Boston on the 14th of January 1858. His father, Patrick Kennedy, died of cholera 10 months after he was born. His mother, who had also 3 daughters, found work as a clerk in a shop. Kennedy, speaking of Patrick J. Kennedy, attended the Roman Catholic school, the Sisters of Notre Dame. Notre Dame is French. Of course, there is a big chapel, Notre Dame in Paris. Notre Dame means Our Lady. So Maria, of course. Yeah, they purchased a rundown saloon in a poor area of Boston. He was a teetotaler. The business was a success, and he soon was able to obtain a second saloon. He started his own wine and spirit importation business, P.J. Kennedy and Company. He married Mary Augusta Higley, the daughter of a prosperous businessman in the city. Interesting, yeah, so that, the mammon. And as a member of the Democratic Party, Mr. Kennedy here was elected to the Massachusetts Senate in 1892. So we can assume that politics are much in the genes of Mr. John F. Kennedy. Along with Mr. Fitzgerald, with Mr. Fitzgerald, it's very highly likely that it has something to do with the middle name of JFK. Kennedy became the most important political figure in Boston. In 1940, so the beginning of this First World War, Kennedy's son, Joseph Patrick Kennedy, married Fitzgerald's daughter. So both men in Boston, who were the most important political figure, they had then teamed up their children. So the son of Kennedy married the daughter of Fitzgerald. So you have political power. So both people are in the same boat. The name of the daughter is Rose Fitzgerald. The parents of John Fitzgerald Kennedy, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, JFK. These are the parents of JFK, RFK, and Edward Kennedy. And this Patrick Joseph Kennedy, so the grandfather of the president, died in 1929. Well, you see that this John Francis Fitzgerald, he was the son of Irish immigrants, which means these people were coming directly from Ireland into the so-called New World. He was serving, active in the Democratic Party. That's the same party that JFK later attended. And he became a member of the Massachusetts Senate in 1892. So when John F. Kennedy went into power, becoming the president in 1960, there was a history already of 68 years in the Senate of the Kennedy and Fitzgerald connection. 3 years later, he was elected to Congress. In 1906, Mr. Fitzgerald became the mayor of Boston. In doing so, Fitzgerald became the first mayor in the United States whose parents had been born in Ireland. So, they got something more in common. Mr. Fitzgerald and Mr. Kennedy both were coming from Ireland. Fitzgerald's daughter, Rose Fitzgerald, was later married to Kennedy's son. He now joined forces with his former rival, Patrick Joseph Kennedy, to run the city. You see that it's not by accident that JFK was becoming president. It was a long line of political power behind him. Now we're coming to the grandfather, once again, of Mr. John F. Kennedy. That's him, about 1900. And I think that we can skip that because I have also been translated it into English. I just read the things which could be of interest for you. He was connected to the Senate of Massachusetts 3 times for 2 years each. He was one of the important leaders of the Democratic Party in Boston. In 1888, he was being invited to hold a speech of the candidate of the Grover Cleveland to the President of the United States. He left the Senate in 1895 and was meeting in close circles and was then selecting and giving away some official positions. When Patrick Joseph Kennedy died in 1929, he was very rich, and because of that wisdom, he could afford a noble house in Jeffreys Point in East Boston. And this enabled the later patriarch of the family Kennedy, Mr. Joseph P. Kennedy, a very easy youth. So the patriarch of the family Kennedy, Joseph P. Kennedy, happens to be the father of the president. And this is where all the mess starts. This is Joseph P. Kennedy, born 1888, dying in 1969, the father of your president. He was an American businessman and diplomat. Oh, hadn't we said that these so-called diplomats are secret agents because they carry secret state secrets, and so they have to have a clearance, like people think of Mr. William B. Cooper, but these people actually have to have a clearance because they handle with very delicate information. Yeah. So I did something from the Sesame Street here because I think that you see that Geschäftsmann means businessman, and what does businessman mean? You see, this is a title which bears somebody who's just doing it for the money, for the love of money, or just serving the mammon. Yeah. So this is just the German part of the script. I'm very sorry to translate it, but there are just some names and dates. Yeah. So they had several children. The oldest son would be Joseph Patrick Kennedy, who died in the Second World War. The second son was your president, JFK, born 1917. The next one was his sister, Rosemary Kennedy, who was living since her 23rd year in a mental asylum. And then you have some other children, for example, Eunice Mary Kennedy, the founder of the Special Olympics, the mother of Arnold Schwarzenegger's ex-wife, Maria Shriver. Yeah, you know why Arnold Schwarzenegger married Mrs. Shriver. Yeah, he married into a very wealthy and extremely high, excellent, well-known American family. And Arnold Schwarzenegger also wanted to become, if that message and that info is correct, wanted to become American president, but he could not do it because of his Austrian heritage. And I can tell you that please beware of Austrian leaders. Germany has made very bad experience with that. So then also you got Robert Francis Kennedy, who was murdered, was the younger brother of JFK, and Edward Moore Kennedy, who was a senator. So you got a family of people. Yeah, he became president, he became senator and minister, and Mr. Edward Moore Kennedy also became minister. Yeah, and the sister Rosemary Kennedy was having a lobotomy, and so that was a method who has destroyed the life of many patients.
Oh, lobotomy, right?
Lobotomy, yeah.
Yeah, that's when they take and extract a portion of your brain.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you imagine that
lobes,
that her father forced her to do so? Yeah, it was the latest science in that day. Huh? What does that tell you? Huh? It was the latest science, lobotomy. Yeah. They had very, very much proteges, but it just was destroying the life. Yeah, and the inventor of the lobotomy has received the Nobel Prize in 1949. Can you imagine that? 1949. My. The neurologian Walter J. Freeman said in 1949 you could heal mental illnesses by that. For that so-called innovation, he received in 1949 the Nobel Prize. He was a neurologian at the George Washington University. It is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah. And in 1969, they got rid of his license to make any operations. He could not make any operations anymore since 1967. Many people were being mentally ill with that method, and that method was the latest feat in science. What does that tell you of any current situation?
You're saying that in 1967 they extracted his license?
Yeah, that's what Wikipedia tells you.
Wow. I guess it didn't work out too well, huh?
No, it does not work. It didn't work out in any way.
No.
Yeah, so but that's hidden from the public eye usually.
Well, we would joke around when we were younger talking about, well, yeah, he's going to get a lobotomy, kind of a sarcasm,
Okay.
Yeah, it's bad news. Obviously.
Yeah. Yeah, in February 1967, Freeman performed his final surgery on Helen Mortensen. She died of a cerebral hemorrhage, as did as many as 100 of his other patients. He was finally banned from performing surgery.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Is that straight enough?
That's straight enough.
That's straight enough, huh?
Yeah.
And one of his victims was the sister of JFK and RFK, of course.
Mm-hmm. Nominated his mentor for.
He nominated his mentor, Antonio Egas Moniz, for a Nobel Prize, and in 1949 he won a Nobel Prize in philosophy. It was seen as a possible treatment for severe mental illness, but within a few years lobotomy was labeled one of the most barbaric mistakes of modern medicine. Well, take this into context of 2021, 2022, or what else?
Yes.
What a stupid concept.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you got a headache? Oh, I will destroy your head. You won't have any headache anymore. Isn't that unbelievable?
Well, that kind of explains the whole origin of science and
that explains also much, huh? The military order of St. James of the Sword. Oh, it's always the same. It's always the same. Yeah. But that website is correct when it says, okay, he did not have the allowance to operate anymore. Yeah, and the father of Mr. Kennedy, Joseph Kennedy, had also an affair because he's got a illegitimate son with the actress Gloria Swanson. Yeah, so he was unfaithful as well. Coming from Ronald Kessler, the sins of the father. And his mistress, Gloria Swanson, was also his business partner in. Yeah, so business partner and mistress at the same time. So the father of your president was visiting the Harvard University with a Bachelor of Arts, or what is it? Bachelor of Arts?
Oh yeah, yeah, that's right.
Bachelor of Arts, huh? Okay. Joseph Kennedy wanted two goals, which were the most prominent: to get rich very fast and to have a high social power and recognition. Because he was not granted the membership in all important clubs due to his religion and ethnical background. What could that be, huh? Could that be the Irish Roman Catholic religion? Yeah. At the age of 25, he was the youngest director of a bank in the United Nations as the new director of the United States, as the new director of the Columbia Trust. Yeah. But he was so successful that he was making so much money that he had some investigations coming across him, so that during a financial scandal at the CLC, Kennedy had to withdraw from the business in 1917 for quite a while. Huh? So in 1917, Kennedy was in the Massachusetts Electric Company, one of the youngest members of an American big company. Kennedy sought an exception, which he received from the Bethlehem, interesting, Shipbuilding Corporation on the Fall River, despite his lack of expertise in shipbuilding, because he was working in a business essential to the conduct of the war. Based on a recommendation of Guy Currier, Bethlehem steel attorney, he received the position of Assistant General Manager of the shipyard, which included an annual salary of $4,000. It was here that Kennedy first met Franklin Delano Roosevelt, who was then serving as a Secretary of the Navy. You know what he wanted to achieve? He wanted to achieve being rich, and he wanted to strive for power. Yeah. Then it goes again, it goes again, it goes again, it goes again. Okay, that's what my comment was. For the love of money is the rule of all evil.
Yeah, right. It says right there he traded. Oh, he made a lot of money, huh?
He made extremely lot of money. It is unlikely that Kennedy's salary alone was enough to speculate so successfully on the stock market that he could feed his family of 5 by now, indulge his passion for betting, and become a millionaire on the side. Rather, it is documented by numerous sources that Kennedy entered the alcohol smuggling business very early at the beginning of the Prohibition. Probably the clearest indication of Kennedy's activities in alcohol smuggling is provided by the Canadian Royal Commission on Customs and Excise, which documents that Kennedy shared office space with his company named Silkhead Cocktail Co. in Vancouver, British Columbia, with Henry Rifles Alcohol Production Company, which was also registered there. The sole business purpose of the rifle company was to manufacture alcoholic beverages and export them to the United States. In a report prepared in 1928, etc., etc., he obtained the sugar required for this from Diamond Joe Exposito, head of the Chicago outfit, so the mob, and arguably most powerful gangster boss in the United States at the time. Huh? Yeah, you know, where the rumors are coming from that the mafia, the mob, is connected to the assassination of John F. Kennedy, because the connections from the Kennedy family to the mob are at least being reported since 1928. But that's not all. The deliveries of sugar from Exposito to Kennedy, they were received by a certain Sam Giancana, who was working as a driver and so-called enforcer, and later he was become the action boss of the mob of Chicago. After Kennedy was just been delivering one portion of alcohol through the area of the Detroit Jewish Purple Gang, this Purple Gang was asking for his head, so to kill him, and has also been ordered a killer for killing of JFK's father due to his illegal transactions on smuggling alcohol. So don't think for just 1 minute that the threat of being killed was not common in the Kennedy household. We're talking here of 1930 somewhere. Yeah, we can look it up where it was exactly, but it does not make any sense. Yeah. But yeah, Kennedy was then being protected by the mob. Yeah, and therefore Kennedy owned the Chicago mobster. So you see, it's all about money, and he didn't care. He was being known in that time that he had illegal wins and money out of the alcohol business, and then he was transferring it into investments, so-called washing of money. Yeah, so he was together with a Harvard-studied Colombian economic and one of the Cali cartel, Jose Franklin Jurado Rodriguez, and that was being mentioned as a Kennedy-fication stage, so to wash money. Yeah, so then he was into Hollywood then in 1927. Also to escape social exclusion by Boston's traditional influential Puritan elite because of his Irish Catholic heritage, Kennedy moved his residence to Hollywood in 1926. Aha, Hollywood, ne? Sacro Bosco. Followed in the next years by others in Riverdale, Bronxville, Palm Beach, and Niagara. But his most important business partner and lover remained Gloria Swanson, who bore him a son. Kennedy effectively took control of their lives, launched Gloria Productions, and tried unsuccessfully to obtain a dispensation from the Catholic Church that would have allowed cohabitation. Well, what to say about this? This is the father of your president. JFK is not responsible for his father. But it's very interesting that this Kennedy clan and the patriarch of the Kennedy is searching for power, big time. He's on his way making it. Yeah, soon after his inauguration, Joe Kennedy very frequently visited the Carl Neva Lodge Hotel in Casino located in California and the tax haven of Nevada, etc., etc. Here he was able to maintain discreet contacts with bigwigs from business such as Everett Globencourt, politics such as Patrick Anthony McCarran, film and show business, such as Judy Garland, remember, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, The Wizard of Oz, and later Marilyn Monroe, Frank Sinatra, among many others, and especially organized crime. Do you remember that Marilyn Monroe was having a birthday congratulations to JFK some decades later?
And where was this all happening? Lake Tahoe. Lake Tahoe, California.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting stuff, Michael.
Yeah. Yeah, you see, he was making big time everywhere with cinemas, with films, movies, and he had a female lover.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to obtain a dispensation from the Catholic Church that would have allowed cohabitation.
Mm-hmm. Unsuccessfully, Michael.
Yeah, unsuccessfully, because it was 1928. But nevertheless, you see that you have to be very rude to do this, to achieve that, if you got 5 children already.
Yes.
Maybe there were 4. I don't know the timeline now in my memory. But you see that this is a very ruthless character, so it seems. It's about the love of money.
Mm-hmm.
And in that environment, the young JFK was getting educated. He acquired the Radio Corporation of America in 1928, and many other things more. Kennedy's main interest in getting involved in the film industry was to make money rather than to make good films. He had realized that the theater chains were vulnerable to blackmail by the production companies and had therefore decided not to be one of the blackmailed. As the film industry grew rapidly, production costs also rose to astronomical heights. Stars such as Charlie Chaplin, remember, the great dictator, he wants to rule the world, were paid up to $10,000 a week, necessitating increasingly financing from banks. All too often, banks refused to get involved. The director of DeMille Pathé, Cecil B. DeMille, once described the situation. This, quote, "When banks came into pictures, trouble came in with them," unquote. Kennedy succeeded in undermining this Jewish dominance in Hollywood by stoking fears that American politicians would distrust a major industry and pass laws to censor it if it were dominated by European Jews, etc. So that's when it ends here, because it's more than 5,000 letters. It gets really worse now, I can tell you. I will translate it for you, and I'm sorry if it looks a little bit amateurish here, but it is about the truth and not about the format or the image here. Now, this is a real eye-opener. Immediately after the end of World War II, Kennedy began to invest heavily in real estate. In 1945, using only $800,000 in equity, he acquired for just under $13 million the Merchandise Mart in Chicago, which had originally once been built in 1930 by Marshall Field for $30 million. And at that time was not only the largest commercial property in the world with its 370,000 square feet, but where outfit control, gambling and prostitution also flourished. Ring a bell? Sinatra, mobsters, Sam Giancana, Diamond Joe, etc., etc. Having 2 weeks earlier purchased a 13-story building from the Saucony Vacuum Oil Company in Albany for $1.8 million. The purchase of the Merchandise Mart is noteworthy in that Kennedy acquired it for slightly less than half its original construction cost, despite the fact that the National Real Estate Index for construction costs in 1930 more than doubled to its commercial value in 1945. You think that is an eye-opener? I got something more to tell you. While the Merchandise Mart was able to track the Index Performance Party because a large portion of its offices were occupied by government agencies that paid very little rent for them. But at the time of its sale was still on Marshall Field's books at 21 million. Imagine what kind of money that is in that time.
Man.
Immediately after the acquisition, Kennedy succeeded in getting the government agencies to move out and replacing them with commercial tenants, increasing the annual rental income from his property to 13 million and its market value to 75 million. Kennedy conducted almost all of his real estate transactions through a New York broker and real estate tycoon John J. Reynolds, who was also primarily engaged in handling real estate affairs of the New York Archdiocese and had been recommended to Kennedy by his friend Cardinal Francis Joseph Spellman.
Friend.
Yeah. That's the eye-opener.
Wow. That's a big one.
Through the real estate transaction conducted through Reynolds, Kennedy increased his wealth by an estimated $100 million. Kennedy approached his real estate commitments according to a strategy called leverage on equity. To purchase a property worth, say, $2 million, he borrowed 1.8 at 4%. With net rental income of 6%, he generated a surplus of $48,000 per annum, so every year, which corresponds to return on investments equity of 24%. So, there you got it. There you got it. And you really think that the church is only about faith? The businesses of the New York Archdiocese, and Kennedy was being together with his befriended Cardinal Francis Joseph Spellman. Yeah. So in modern day and age money, he would be a billionaire. He would be a billionaire. And when it's come down to politics, he was supporting Roosevelt, although in the primaries he was fighting against the Catholic Alfred E. Smith. And the public was very surprised why Roosevelt has chosen Kennedy as a known Irish Catholic, Roman Catholic, of course. Yeah, because many think that he was not a profiteer of the crisis, economy crisis, but he caused it. So that, and the president says, "Oh well, the thieves can catch thieves the best." Yeah, and also his Roman Catholic heritage was very useful for Mr. Roosevelt. So he did make a promotion for Mr. Roosevelt as well. Yeah. And it wasn't any coincidence. Then you got here a very actual photo of Joe Biden, somebody who claims to be the American president at that time. And this is the quote from the video. "I'm the only Irishman you've ever met who's never had a dream," etc. But the problem is that there were some other Irishmen too. And there were at least, he's not the first Irish president. John F. Kennedy also was Irish from his ancestors, from his ancestors. He was of Irish origin. Yeah, the Bidens are Roman Catholic and Irish American, both at the same time. Yeah, but Mr. Kennedy didn't receive the position in the financial ministry. He was being sought to the United States Security and Exchange Commission. And then in the presidential election in 1936, once again, he was supporting Mr. Roosevelt. He was also publishing a book called I'm for Roosevelt, where he was defending the so-called New Deal. And then later on, he was being ambassador of the United States in Great Britain in 1937. So Kennedy, therefore, had the most prestigious position which America could hand over. So you see here a businessman who's also a politician at the same time, and you think that these are representatives of the people, representatives of the people, that at that time he was making money, and later on he was being a billionaire, and you think that it's just about his that he wants to represent the public. These people, in my humble opinion, they are just doing it for themselves. He was on a journey in March 1938 with the family to London. There, his sons Joe Jr. and John, so means JFK, they were also working in the embassy. When Second World War broke out, he was sending his family back in September 1939 to the United States. Then he was very friendly to the Nazis. And he was being seen as a persona non grata, so that he was being having connections to Mr. Churchill, Winston Churchill. So Kennedy was very sympathetic to Nazi Germany, and that's what being made him a suspect, also from Winston Churchill, which led Mr. Kennedy being observed by the MI5, Military Intelligence 5. Yeah, so there's so much to think about, and the next time we will hand over the information from Kennedy to Churchill. But I hope at least that you really see that these people who we are coming across, we are on our way to JFK, I can promise that. But if really that you see that these people are actually no representatives of any party or representatives of any people or so, this is just all a blatant lie. These people are just doing it for themselves. And the next time we are going into the connections between the secret boozy deals of a Kennedy, a Churchill, and a Roosevelt. You see a prominent picture here, of course, in the United Kingdom. You see advertisements everywhere. Cannot get to the valuable information nowadays. But next time, American ambassador to Britain, Joseph Kennedy, with the English statesman Winston Churchill outside Downing Street, London. They don't show here the Downing Street 10. Thinking that about Protestant design? No, not quite. So that's the residence of the English Prime Minister. And don't forget, the Prime Minister is not the head of state in the United Kingdom. Why does United Kingdom has got its name from? Why does it call a kingdom? Not because of a Prime Minister, obviously. You think that is average and everybody knows that, but you see that if everybody mentions that, it does not mean that everybody thinks about it. So United Kingdom means that it's a kingdom, so there must be a monarchy. And so what's the Prime Minister? He's not the head of state. He's not the head of state. Government, yes. Unitary parliamentary constitutional monarchy. The Prime Minister is Boris Johnson, maybe exchanged with John Doe, Adam West, or who else? Or maybe Winston Churchill. Sir Winston Churchill. You see the difference. But nevertheless, the monarch still is Elizabeth II. And so the circle closes to the second to last session when we were talking about the richest people on the earth, where Elizabeth II is constantly missing. And so this is Great Britain, a country calling himself great. United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Yes. And so that's it for today on the second session of Conspiracies. Because I think that was much things to think about. So what does the Bible tell about conspiracies? At the moment, I'd say it is about that. It is only about power. It is about power in this world, Nobody cares about others. It's not the commandments of Jesus Christ. It's just me, me, me. I want to rule the world. Conspiracy. Yeah. And next time we go into Churchill and Kennedy, I promise. Hope you had a good time, interesting time. It was not that much of a Bible session because from now on we have already talked about the biblical foundation, and so that we are going into an example year of the Kennedy, especially later on at the surrounding events of the assassination. And I think you will see some things that usually not been mentioned with Kennedy, and this is just the beginning of all the mess. So even if you think that your maybe favorite president, John F. Kennedy, was some ordinary bloke, I have to disappoint you heavily, because he was anything but. So no ordinary man from the street is having a job from a dishwasher to a millionaire, or has been handed over and then been put into a position. You only been put into a position if you got much money to back up, if you got certain connections, if you are a member of certain communities. It has nothing to do by coincidence. It's just been planned. Nobody gets a position in a satanic world which is not in line. And now maybe you can speculate why John F. Kennedy was assassinated. Thank you very much for having me. Once again, I'm very much looking forward to the next session, and I'm handing it over to my really, really beloved brother Brett, who said he has made some interesting contributions, and maybe he's got some things to finish it off. Thank you very much, and Maranatha.
Yeah, Michael, incredible research you did on this one, and a lot of surprises, especially when you're speaking about the powerhouse of New York, which I believe Francis Cardinal Spellman was. I've got a lot of research to do on that, but I've heard that he was the head of the Knights of Malta in the United States, Michael, back in his day. And yeah, that's something that many of us don't know too much about over here, because of, these things aren't accessible to the mainstream media. They can't touch it. And if they do, they end up in trouble. And as we read, Michael had pointed out, the speech that John Swinton gave is quite revealing, and
he said he would. Sorry to step in.
Please.
He said he would end like Othello if he would not obey, and Othello was murdering his wife and killing himself.
Not too smart.
What I have forgotten to tell you. That's just what you mentioned. Yeah,
well,
sorry.
And that's how it works. We reap what we sow. But when you're living in a satanic world or a worldly system, you may never realize that you actually are committing crime against your soul, your own soul. When we find out in the Bible that these riches are it's a bad path to be going down for one that wants to stay on the path of righteousness. Well, we know that the natural man does not have the path of righteousness. That is only obtained when God reveals himself through the scriptures to you, I believe. If you ask me, that's where it comes from, is from the Bible. So thank you, Michael. Looking forward to continuing down this path to the road to our history in the United States. Really, we don't know much about that over here, Michael. And I think that these things aren't thought about much here, and they're not talked about much here, because there is an industry built on concealing the truth. And that is the entertainment industry. And that is something we've worked hard to expose so far, but now we get into the realm of history and politics. Yeah, it's just as deep and dark and dirty as it ever was, Michael. So thank you for your contribution, Michael. Looking forward to next time already. And Maranatha.